Hi everyone, thanks for joining me again. I'm just in the middle of this painting and I'm making a time-lapse video of it, and I thought I'd pause halfway through and just kind of show you what's going on. So what I want to show you today is how to get texture on buildings. These old Norfolk cottages that were kind of built with flint, and they've got like a very kind of small rough texture with them, not like, you know, standard brickwork. These things actually kind of stick out quite a bit and they're kind of rough and ready and everything. So it's a very easy technique to do. I mean, as you can see, it's pretty much all watercolour, and I've just started with the pencils, just doing the texture. In fact, let me just zoom you in a little bit there so you can just get a closer look. Can you see that? So I've just made a start just on this side of the building. I've done a little bit there as well, and just very lightly on that side. A little bit on the roof as well. I'm not actually using graphite pencils today, which is unusual for me. I'm actually using these Kohinoor coloured pencils. They come, actually I'll show you the tin. They come in a set of 12 and they're all grey. There's another one there. There's 6 cool greys and 6 warm greys, you know, in the various tones there. Very useful actually. I've only had them a couple of months. I bought them with the intention of doing tonal sketches and then washing over them with watercolour, because with these not being graphite, you know, the graphite won't all dissolve into the watercolour and everything. But I thought I'd try and use them today on this wall here. I'll just show you quickly the colour chart as well. Very subtle. Like I say, we've got 6 cool greys there and 6 warm greys there. Very nice little set. If you're interested as well, there's the lid. That's what to look for. Kohinoor Polycolour. They make a very useful addition as well to use alongside your standard coloured pencils. I use them alongside the Derwent pencils. I don't actually see a lot of artists using Kohinoor pencils, which is strange, because I find them very good quality actually. So if you're watching this and you've got a set of these, let me know how you get on with them. Because I find them, well, they're very cheap, and they're very, you know, the quality of them is very professional. So I don't know why more artists aren't actually using these. But anyway, that's enough of that. On with this, right. So basically, it's just a very simple technique. Beginners can do this. Anybody can do this. All we're doing, let me just get this other pencil. I'm just going to use 2 pencils, sort of a medium dark and then a dark grey, and I'm just going to basically, very lightly, just make little lines. Well, they're not lines, it's sort of hit and miss, but going along horizontally, as if it's almost like the joints in the stonework, basically. So I'm leaving light areas in between, varying the pressure as well, so I'll get you know, a few variations in tone. And I'll just keep working away across and down, and joining up to where I've already done. Incidentally, these aren't water soluble. That's one of the reasons why I chose to use them for this, because at this stage I'm not too sure where I'm going to go with this painting. I might actually glaze over that with a light wash, or even just damp the paper with water and then just drop some colours in it, just to sort of enhance it a little bit and add a bit of age to it. So that's something to bear in mind if you're using coloured pencils with watercolour. I mean, I've used watercolour pencils with watercolour, and they're great, but the trouble is that I've found with them, not all of the colours, but just some of the colours. Like, say for example, you're doing a background with, let's say three different shades of green, and you're drawing the trees and everything, and it's all looking good in dry pencil. Then you decide just to kind of soften it off a little bit with the water. You can guarantee that one of those greens in there will be an absolute screamer. The other two will probably just dull down nicely or stay the same sort of colour as they are when they're put on dry. But some of the colours are absolute screamers. As soon as you wet them, the colours are so intense, and it's, you know, it's best to test them before you actually wet them and put them on your paper, in my opinion. That's why I like the graphite tints. That doesn't really happen. They're very sort of subdued and subtle. Even when the water's applied to them, they stay. Well, they are a little bit brighter and lighter, but they don't sort of. None of them are screamers or anything like that. They stay nice and subtle. So can you see what I'm doing? Look, if I just bring that up again. Just kind of little broken lines going across. I'll just continue that down all the way to the bottom. And where we've got the grasses, we can actually kind of shade down in this direction into them to give the effect that the stonework's going behind them. Okay, so that's that. Now, I've got to remember that the light's coming in from this way. So it's actually catching this wall, but not full on. So what's happening is, because it's, like I would explain, it's Norfolk flint, it kind of sticks out. We're going to get like little highlights showing where the sun's just kind of clipping it. And then at the back of at the left hand side of it, it's going to be in shade. So what I'm going to do now is go in with the slightly darker grey and almost do little lines going that way, but not kind of regimented and obvious kind of brickwork pattern. Just the odd one, just to bring out the stonework. That's actually a little bit dark there. Just kind of rub that out a little bit. Soften it back in. It's basically just drawing the shaded side of the stonework. I'm not doing it everywhere, it's just here and there, just the odd one. I'm not drawing in every stone, that's for sure. I mean, the building's kind of far enough back into the picture so that you wouldn't see every stone anyway. So I just suggest a few, not all of them. But to leave it just a flat wash of watercolour is the opposite effect really. It looks a bit flat and boring really, so we've got to do something with it. But the last thing we want to do is overwork it and have too much detail in it, because the main focus of the picture is going to be this boy that's paddling in the stream with his little fishing net there. So I want that to be the strongest detail in the picture. And if I kind of make this really highly detailed, your eye's just going to be drawn to this and not the main focal point. So it's best to keep that softer and that one more sharp, more detailed. This window as well. Again, with the darker grey, we can go into the grass there and just pull down. It'll give the effect. It'll enhance the effect, should I say, of the grass sticking up. I don't know how well the camera's picking this up actually, but I'll bring it closer to you in a minute when I've finished it. technique that I use for the roof as well was just a wash of raw sienna, and then I dropped a few sort of dark green colours in there just to suggest a little bit of moss. Then I pulled a few highlights out with a damp brush, and I used this lighter grey colour to draw these pan tiles. Really simple, really easy to do. Gives a nice effect as well. I mean, now that's done, you sort of take a step back and look at it and think, right, we'll make it look a little bit more stained and old. You know, where like moss has kind of run off the roof over years and kind of left stains down the wall and things like that. Gives a little bit of character. So you could, you know, you can do this fairly quickly, but then spend hours just refining it and adding more detail, but without going over the top. So that's looking reasonably okay. So that's just basically two coloured pencils, two grey pencils, over a very, very light wash of grey watercolour. I'll hold that up so you can see. I mean, that's not too bad, is it? Looks okay. And you just continue on the other side doing the same thing. And once I've finished that, I'll leave it at that. Excuse me. Then I'll continue on with the rest of the painting. Excuse me. And then I'll look at everything, and I'll probably look at this and think, right, okay, that might be a bit too detailed. I might want a little bit more detail on there. But it's hard to tell at this stage exactly where to leave these things and say, right, that's it, that's finished. Because until we've got more foreground working in the dark areas on these bridges, it's kind of hard to assess it really. So, you know, bear that in mind when you're doing this kind of thing. Don't try and finish it in one go, just gradually build these things up in layers. So like I say, this will be on a time-lapse video. Well, hopefully it will if it turns out okay, so you'll should see it from start to finish. But if I ruin it, obviously I won't put it on, but at least you've seen how to do a little bit of texture on the side of buildings, old Norfolk buildings. Right, okay, so I'm going to leave it at that now. I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to play safe and just leave it at that because it gives me scope to go over it later on in the painting, but that's pretty much the idea, the effect of it. As you can see, I mean, it's fairly attractive for, you know, a very simple method. It gives quite a nice effect. If I just grab my sketchbook and exaggerate for you what I've just done there so that you can get a better idea. I'll make these lines quite big. So we went across horizontally, so if we imagine that this is kind of magnified quite a bit, and we've got like a light grey wash on the back of this, which we obviously haven't, but just if we imagine we have, you know, the marks I've made are sort of very random and broken, just like that. And underneath the same, I've just kind of followed that kind of pattern. Very rough, very, you know, not neat at all. Try and make make it a bit bigger. You know, not necessarily just done lines like that. I mean, I've sort of staggered them and broken them up a little bit. So we ended up with something like that on the first go. And then we went in with a darker pencil. And what I was trying to explain was, you know, the light's coming in from this way. So if you can imagine, this is the edge of the stone and that's like the bottom of it. It's kind of like this kind of shape that we're doing. Just going along, just randomly, not doing exact, you know, brickwork or anything, because Norfolk stone buildings are not like that at all. So, you know, stagger them, just do them here and there. I mean, this looks very crude at the minute because it's just a quick sketch and exaggerated for you. But this is basically what I was doing, but on a much smaller scale. And when you do it smaller, it has a much nicer effect. I mean, this is absolutely looking awful. But you kind of get the idea. It's these kind of shapes that you're doing. And we've got the light of the stone on that side there, and then we're just making the stone darker along the bottom and the left hand edge because the sunlight's coming in from that way, if you understand what I mean. So that's the effect that we're going for there. As simple as that. Right, so okay then, hope that was useful to you, gave you a few ideas and everything. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.